Hello, TCI family, Jonathan's Refuge. It is your bishop here coming to you with all these glasses on. Um, Coming to you from the new headquarters here in Washington State, out in Marysville, just north of Seattle. And excited to get into the message today. We're going to be talking about fear. Now, the title it said fear is good. And so let's discuss that. Why would I say fear is good when I'm always talking about fear, FEAR, face everything and rise, right? Or false evidence appearing real. So there's certain fears that are legit, and then other fears we make them up out of our own mind. But fear is good. So let's first look at what happens with fear when you walk. I do a lot of mountaineering. Okay, when you walk on a mountain and you're up there, and I'm scared of heights and I'm scared of falling. Those are two things that I'm scared of. And in the beginning, it was massive fear that gripped me. I mean, I got up to the top and I'm like getting at the edge, and I'm like, I mean, I just would panic. And then thereafter, when I started to think of those mountains, I started to panic because I could feel the fear rushing into me. Now, as a child, I grew up climbing the mountains. I mean, literally, my young nickname was Mountain Man. And so, having gone through this experience of looking at fear from a child's perspective and not having it, and then becoming an adult, and all of a sudden something happening somewhere, and I still can't figure out where the fear of heights and the fear of falling came from. But it happened. And so, to overcome it, I go to the mountains, to my love and my passion, and try to continually overcome, strengthen my resolve, and allow myself to increase the ability to overcome fear. And so as I sit here and I think of the young Jonathan Brown and the older Jonathan Brown, the little boy, the bishop now, and I see the two different personalities and how they look at fear. One of the things we got to realize is that fear is good. Now, why is that? Well, when I'm on that mountain, I have a fear of falling. So when I get close to the edge, and I know it's the edge coming up, I was on a mountain called Mount Adams with one of my favorite climbing partners, Tim Califf. Timmy and me were on the mountain, and we got up to this one part, and we were exploring the glacier. And as we explored the glacier, I look over, and there is the literally the cliff that's dropping 2,000 feet. And so as I look at the drop that's about 2,000 feet, that I thought, Timmy just jumps this crevasse onto the glacier that's split off from the other glacier. And it's not 2,000. I mistakenly did not understand. It was almost double that, 4,000 feet drop. Every part of me was like, be cautious. Now, that's a good fear to have. That has been wired into our DNA when we were in the caves as cavemen, okay? And when we were back in the day when we're all living out in the woods and we didn't have civilizations and we're just little tribes trying to figure it all out on this earth. Fear kept us from going out at night into that dark canyon because there might be something in there. That's a good fear to have. I wonder what'll happen if I put my arm behind this wall when I hear some weird growling noises. The fear that tells you maybe you shouldn't, that's a good fear. But fear that is going to debilitate you and stop you, that's the fear we got to overcome. So let's look at a scripture first that I want to read. This one is in Isaiah 41:10 in the Old Testament. If you're my Jewish friends, grab the prophet, the books of the prophets, and the book of Isaiah, chapter 41:10 says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." Now, I always remembered this as a boy because I always knew that God had my life in a plan, that there was a deity and that all the universe was set in motion. I do not believe that God is a puppet master, so I don't believe he's up there pulling strings, and that's a whole nother sermon. But I do believe that as we sow positive seed into our lives, into the world, and into others, we get back a positive harvest. If we sow negative seed, we get back a negative harvest. So people who are always wondering, I don't know why my life stinks. Look at what you're doing and look at what you're sowing. Most of the time when I speak with people, I can literally look at what they do and how they're doing it. And you just easily can notice they're sowing bad seed and wondering why they're getting bad back. So if all you grow is nightshade, which is a form of poison and it's a deadly plant, if you grow nightshade, just one little piece in your back garden, it'll overtake everything and kill everything. So what you sow, there's a harvest, and it might be good and it might be bad. But again, it's not like God or some puppet masters up there. So then, what is it when it says God is with you? Do not fear, for I am with you. The universe is connected through spirit. My spirit and God's are connected. Your spirit and mine and God's are connected. We are all connected in this great consciousness. And God needs you to tap into that inner consciousness to overcome your fear. That's what you and me both need. And God's trying to get us to do that every single day of our lives. And so, as I see a mountain and I see the fear that's up on that cliff, I grab myself and I say, I can do this. One step, one breath. And when I do mountaineering, I love stuff like Mount Rainier, Mount Adams, Mount Shasta, Mount Whitney, the Pacific Crest Trail. I'm not into what they refer to as alpinists who like to climb straight up rocks, and got the big huge. I don't even know what they're called, but they stick those things in the rocks and then they climb up rope and they keep climbing and they're doing all of that. So I'm not into that. I'm into mountaineering in the respect the traditional of climbing a mountain. But when you do some of these mountains, you do have to get roped up. You do need to be in your harness. You are going to have to scale some pitches on some rock. You are going to have to be belayed or what have, or belay someone and be rappelling. And there's all kinds of things you might have to do. You have to walk over a bridge that's a ladder that's 10 feet span. They take two ladders sometimes three ladders, and they cross them and they rope them up, and then you got to walk across that. And if you fall down below, you're dropping 100 feet, maybe 500. Some places they don't know the depth. Could be a couple thousand feet in some of them. Who knows? I don't want to find out because I don't want to fall. So then you start practicing at home. You take the two ladders, then you start with the first one and you just put it on top of a chair on each end and start walking across it. If you fall, it's 6 inches to the ground. Then you take it a little further and a little further, and then you tie two ladders and you do the same thing. Now you're feeling comfortable. You're overcoming fear by actually facing it and taking on little bits at a time. One breath, one step. How do we eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do we overcome our fear? One step at a time. You don't need to rush out and go climb Mount Everest tomorrow. As much as I want to do that, right now I have to first get to Mount Rainier. Hopefully this spring is my hope to make a late winter ascent up there. And so that's my next step there. So that is making me practice on crossing some of the crevasses that I'm going to have to cross and overcome those fears. And then from there, once you do that, it's easy to do the next one and the next one because you've done it and you've accomplished it. So keep that in mind. It's about taking little steps. When you need to make a change in your life, what's interesting, and this is the part that's really interesting. Everyone tries to make massive change. Like I need to lose 50 pounds. Okay. I always tell people break it down. You want to lose 50 pounds? Great. Now let's break that down. Oh, you need to lose 2 pounds a week for the next 25 weeks. And there's your 50 pounds. And let's build in every 3 weeks, a week that didn't lose anything, because that's going to happen. And then you build that in, and maybe you're now up to 38 weeks to get to your goal. It's easy when you're looking at 1 pound a week or 2 pounds, right? That's actually not complicated to do. You're not having to make massive change. I can show you to make a couple simple things in your life that you change and you drop a pound a week. It's very easy to do, actually. It's hard to make it a habit, but it's easy to do. And people, they get overwhelmed with fear because they're trying to fathom, oh, 50 pounds, or, hey, can you help me learn how to make $1 million? I love that when someone says that. No, I can't. I can't help you learn how to make $1 million. What I need to do is to teach you how to be responsible with the $1 that you got in your pocket. And if I can teach you some basic habits and some basic systems in your life, protocol that you use, then yeah, you will make $1 million. But if you don't have your foundation built, if you don't understand that you need to pay yourself first before you pay bills, before you make a car payment, before you buy another house, before you do any of that, your retirement, your investments needs to be the priority. So I personally take 40% of an income of my past, 40% of my income. Now it's completely reversed. I'm up to the 80% of my income goes to retirement and investments, and I live off of 20% of it. So that way I am stacking the coin in my favor so that I'm in paying me first. And if I can't afford something, my Harley that everyone sees me riding, that thing cost me only $6,000. It's a 2006 Harley. Only had about, I think it was 5,800 miles or so on it when I got it. I mean, it had barely any miles on it, mint condition, but I only paid $6,000. I could have gone out. I got immaculate credit. I could have gone out and bought myself one of my favorite bikes is a Bourget made by Roger Bourget. I had a Root American Bourget, '01, and it cost me 40 grand to have that thing custom made for me. Now they're sitting at about $250,000. I could have got one, folks. Why would I do that? That doesn't make financial sense. But it's my dream bike. It is my dream bike. So what? My dream bike is a depreciating asset. Huh. When you start to think about that. So my dream is a depreciating asset. Yeah, but my 1969 Chevy Camaro is not depreciating now. If you buy it, right? Always that if, right? It's a depreciating asset. Eventually, it falls apart. The metal eventually corrodes. No matter how good could you take care of it and make it pristine forever? Absolutely. But it's still a depreciating asset. And it's your dream. So my motorcycle, as much as I want that, I said, no, I'll put the money in investments. And see, others go, I don't understand. I'd love to be like you someday. Folks, I got out of prison with 20 bucks to my name and I built a multi-million dollar empire. I did it. No one gave me a penny. Nobody invested a dollar. Not my ex, not any of my family, none of my friends. Just this guy right here put it all on the line 7 days a week, and he put all the money into it. And how would he get the money? Because he only had 20 bucks. He worked really hard. He picked up one job making 40 hours a week, then two jobs making 80 hours a week, and then a third job and picked up another 10 to 20 hours. And he did that over and over and took all that money and started building and started hiring people, paying them to do jobs so that he could keep making the money to pay them to build the business that he knew would happen. And you keep doing this. What are your priorities? And fear is what can stop you, is what I'm trying to explain. So all of this is happening. Had I been fearful, I wouldn't have got to where I'm at. Had I been fearful of, oh, I don't want to lose out. My friends bought the side by side. My buddy bought the hog, the Harley. My best friend bought the boat. I need it. It would be justified. My business could use it. Mm. Fear can come in many ways. You need this. Fear speaks in many ways. You don't want to be that guy that has no nice car, right? And so when you see that you're scared of things, that's not a bad thing. That's your brain wired in a good way to help you protect yourself. But don't allow it to debilitate you. Don't allow it to stop you. I was afraid of public speaking because I had a speech impediment. I said my words backward. Instead of saying, let's go to the parking lot and get in the car, I would say, let's go to the car and get in the parking lot. And people just couldn't understand what I said. Having a speech impediment, and then on top of that, having dyslexia and reading everything ass backwards makes it very difficult. So then I chose to be a lover of reading. And now I'm passionate about reading. Yes, I still do Audible. It's awesome. It's exciting. But there's nothing like having a book and reading it and making the notes and taking notes of actually how you're going to change it. And then looking at your notes, picking a plan and making an action. Not the whole book. I'll spend sometimes a year in just one book. Do you know I have a book that I spent 21 years in? It's called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I lived each chapter for an entire year. I read it every morning and I read it at the end of the night. And I did that for the whole year. And I practiced that one principle all year long. And I did that for the 21 principles for 21 years. I lived the book. The book is now me. I am the book. I don't even pull it out of the closet to even off the bookshelf to even talk about it. I actually just start telling stories, and people are like, hey, isn't that from? That's kind of sounds like it's me. The John Maxwell 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership and Jonathan Brown are now one. And so my life, by delving into that, I'm not trying to become a good leader. I want to be one of the greats, is what I wanted. So, how do I do that? And they said I had to spend more time learning than everybody else. And then I said years later, well, I've learned, right? I'm one of the leaders now, teaching people to be leaders. And they're like, now you need to actually work 10 times harder than everyone else. I'm like, what? I've been doing this for like 20 years and now I need to do it again. And that was a decade and a half ago. And I haven't stopped. I've been so passionate about studying, learning, watching the next video, going to the next conference, seeking the next book, consulting the next expert, trying to find a better way to be a better leader, a more efficient leader, an authentic leader, one that people say, I want to be like that. Because if I can do that and I can help change two people, I change the world. If I can help one person, I change the world. That's why our motto is changing the world, one person at a time. All right, guys, as I wrap this up, I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite verses, okay? Now, this one is in Psalms, which is the in the Old Testament, and it was written by David. It's Psalms 23, verse 4. And you guys know I've preached many sermons on Psalms 23, and I'll preach more again. But on this one, on verse 4, it just says, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And there's a great message in the rod and the staff, and correction is what it means. When it talks about the rod, it was to correct us. So the correction is a good thing. When you're corrected, that's healthy. We want that. We need that. As an archbishop, I oversee bishops. I correct bishops, and then the bishops they oversee and correct pastors and reverends and ministers. You start to see how this works. And so there's correction, and God corrects me, but I have a whole board of bishops that correct me. So even though I lead a board as a bishop, they elect me to be their archbishop, but I too have those mentors and those spiritual fathers who then help correct me. See, correcting is not a bad thing. We all think that word to me to be bad. Think of it like a ship. When you're out at sea, I go out all the time on a yacht that we own, that we purchased for our men. We own one of the largest private mental health practices in our state, the largest in our county. And I bought them a yacht with my partner so that they could go out on the ocean, and they got a suite with a king bed in there and another room with a queen bed and other spaces. And it's a beautiful place that we allow the men coming out of prison to get away, our employees to get a little R&R that they couldn't afford. No, it's not the newest Trump yacht or the newest, beautiful, gorgeous, decked out. It's a 1982 and it's 39 feet, and she's a beauty. And we just put 50 grand into it to fix up all the engines and the through holes. And we still got a couple more grand to get done on it, but she's a beauty. And so this boat, we set it up for all these men to go and to use it and to enjoy it and to have part of the fun of that. And so as I sit here and I think of this verse, I think of the correcting on that yacht, because when I take the men out, like I just did on that yacht, I was showing them how to drive, and literally the boat starts to just turn. Wait, I'm holding the steering wheel straight. Well, first off, it's not a steering wheel; it's a helm. And the helm, you're sitting at the helm of the ship, and when you turn the wheel to the right, let's say, or as we call it, to the port side or to the starboard side, if you do that, but the wind's contradicting, the boat can still go this direction, even though you're trying to go starboard or you're trying to go port. It can actually blow you off in another direction. And it happens all the time. I had our ship going down the channel coming out, and a wind just wham hit the side of the boat. And that thing's pretty high up in the wheelhouse, and it acts like a sail. And the whole boat just went it spun it probably 30 degrees instantly. And so when that happened, I had to overcorrect and make an adjustment and full reverse to stop the momentum. And then one forward on my starboard, one reverse on my port. So the ship would adjust and correct. That's what we do on a daily basis. It's not a bad thing. And so I get corrected on how to make sure I'm not living in fear. I notice my projects in life are getting bigger and they're getting more expensive. It's the same process that I do today. The same thing I did today. I'm working with executive staff. We're trying to work on this $3 million grant loan, and we're in that process. It's very complicated. And then meanwhile, we got all the financing of another company, and we're doing that, and it's complicated. And we need structural engineers because we're building this. When we're done, and we're probably realistically looking at about a $5 million facility when we're done with everything. And so we're sitting here going, wow. And it's just huge. And a couple of our people I was talking to on the phone were like, how are we? This is just so scary. And I said, whoa, it's the same process. It's just bigger numbers. And then it just means bigger results. And that means more people being touched. So don't allow the fear to grab you. One step, one breath. I love you guys. God bless.